One lesson was that the scariest place you will probably be is the United States of America. So leaving the United States, you will find most places are much more safe, much more welcoming, much more respectful of you and your Blackness than it will ever be in the United States. So I get that question a lot about, do they like Black people? And, like Indonesia, do they like Black people there? Is it safe? I'm like, one of the most dangerous places on the planet is the United States. So wherever you go, most likely you're going to be more safe, first of all. Second of all,
Awaken with Mark is a channel that is charting the journey of our family. It's what happens when an African-American family relocates to the continent of Africa. And I'll tell you what happens. We start winning. That's what happens. So you can find out and go to our website and learn more information about that. Also, to help others, if you're thinking about this particular type of journey for your family, we offer a free assessment, something just to get your juices flowing, to get you thinking about what kind of things you need to do to prepare for this kind of a move. For example, in the assessment, you'll spend some time figuring out what is your why? What kinds of things are you interested in?
And I'm really excited for her to be on to tell us about everything she's been up to also share her traveling tips and business practices with all of you who are aspiring entrepreneurs and also who want to travel outside of the country, who especially want to come to Africa. So she goes by Melanin Migration on YouTube, but her friends and family know her as Rukiya McNair. And I just want to say thank you for coming on. Welcome, Rukiya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Let's jump right on in. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about where you're from, just a little bit about where you stayed and what you do?
Okay. I am originally from a small suburb outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania by the name of Oakdale. I am currently in Accra, Ghana, and I have a business called Melanin Migration. It started off as, workbooks, and then it just kind of evolved into consulting and some other things. So, yep.
Nice. Did you travel a lot growing up?
I did. I did. Actually, my father used to work, he retired from US Airways. So, when you have a parent that works for the airline, you get to fly for free. So, we got to do quite a bit of traveling growing up. We didn't go very far. We did go to the islands, Jamaica, Bahamas, like that kind of stuff. We did a lot of camping as well. So yeah, I had a variety of travel options, and experiences growing up. Yeah.
That's cool. So it was already in your blood. That's
it was
great.
Fun. Yes.
That's cool. You had a lot of good things, I think, to say about Thailand. Is that right?
Of course. Yes.
What was time like there?
Thailand was amazing. And, I feel like had we not run into some visa problems there, we'd probably still be there. Okay. We were in northern Thailand, so we were in Chiang Mai. There, people were very welcoming, very kind. At that time, the cost of living was extremely low. So we were able to have, a very nice house, and, you're able to eat well, and the food there is very healthy for you, and it's easy to get around. They have a train system there, so you can hop on the train for, at that time, it might have been like $1 or $2, to get around Thailand. So it was really, really nice. Yeah, it was really nice.
And how long were you guys there?
I think we were there a little longer than a year, maybe like a year and a half or something like that. Around a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Wow. And then, and so what inspired you to move to the continent of Africa. Had you been there before, or when you did move, was it your first time?
It was the first time me and the kids have been to Africa, but that was always the plan
Okay.
after we got done with Southeast Asia. So I had lived in Indonesia for a while. I was in Jakarta and Bali. We had, we've been all over. At some point, we were going to end up on the continent, and I knew once I got here that I was not going to want to leave. So kind of saved it for last. So we went from Thailand to Rwanda
Hmm.
for a few months, and then after Rwanda, I had to go back to Bali. I used to have a business there, a
Okay.
retail business, so I had to go close that out. The plan was to stay there for a year or so, but due to the earthquakes, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, there were some pretty heavy earthquakes in Bali, and one of the islands, I think
Mm.
about 200 people died.
Oh
So we
wow.
were there around that time, and so yeah, so we ended up leaving a little early,
Okay.
and the plan was to go back to Kigali, but I said, well, let's stop in Tanzania on the way. I want to see the coast. The kids
Yeah.
haven't seen the African coastline anywhere, so we ended up going to Tanzania and staying for 4 years.
Wow.
So that's how we ended up in Tanzania. So
That's cool.
yeah.
What highlights? Of
Mm.
course, you'll find them on her YouTube channel, guys, but we're here now chatting
Yeah.
about it. Can you relive maybe a highlight or two that you remember living in Tanzania?
Oh, of course. I'm like, which one? I think one of the highlights was definitely Zanzibar.
Mm.
Um, I've been there several times, but generally speaking, Zanzibar, Stone Town is just one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
It's really, it's similar to if you've been to Old San Juan, Puerto Rico, it's kind of has like that kind of vibe. It's like an old town, you know,
Okay.
um, island
That's
vibe. It's
nice.
very nice. Yeah. So I would definitely say all the times I've been to Zanzibar were amazing. And what else? I think I'll keep that. I mean, because just
Yeah.
living in Dar on its own was a wonderful experience. Just being able to have a house like right on the water, right next
Yes.
to the water. It was just everything was just it was just really beautiful, really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that's definitely I'll
Yeah.
add you said San Juan. I'll add that to
Yeah.
my bucket list.
Yeah, old San Juan.
Old San Juan. That's
Yeah.
my bucket list. And of course
Yeah.
Tanzania. My family had looked at
Mm-hmm.
that as well. And still
Yeah.
definitely want to visit, but I do miss the coast
Mm-hmm.
because I lived in
Yeah.
for all of you who have followed Josiah's voice for a while, I lived in Los Angeles for pretty much 3 years, and I was
Mm-hmm.
spoiled because I lived maybe 15 minutes from the coast, from the beach. I
Yes.
lived close to
Yeah.
Dockweiler Beach, um,
Okay.
and then I grew up in Maryland prior to that.
Okay.
So I was used to going to like Virginia Beach, but only every so many
Right.
years. So I didn't see
Mm-hmm.
water a lot. And so then
Yeah.
moving to Los Angeles and just being there just 3 years, being able to just drive up
Mm-hmm.
whenever I wanted, I got
Yep.
spoiled very quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
so I miss it. So my family, my dad also especially loves the ocean. So I can't wait
So
to
do
go
I. Yep.
back. So and also to visit the African West Coast at some point, see it over there as
Yeah.
well, for sure. Was there anything else you think
Mm.
that gave you the adventurous bug? Because you could have easily just put it away. What is it about traveling and being independent in that way? Because you've also traveled solo before, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. Before I had the kids, I was in teaching English in Jakarta in Indonesia. That was my first solo living abroad experience. Yeah, that was it.
Wow. So what
Hmm.
do you know what it is that because everyone doesn't have that. What gives you that adventurous spirit? Because that's great. You've just seen so many things, and there's so much more. It sounds like
Yeah.
for you to see.
Yeah, I don't really know. I really think that some of it. I think that you kind of born with this, you know, or not. I really did. I saw that there was a study done. Oh gosh, it was circulating in one of my travel groups a few years ago on Facebook, and they called it like a wanderlust gene or something like that. That people
Hmm.
who are like me, who like to travel, who are a little bit more nomadic, that there is actually a gene
No
that
way.
differentiates us from others. Yeah. So I don't know, because I just feel like I just, because me and all my sisters and my brother, we all traveled the same,
Okay.
growing up. We all went on the same vacations together. But I'm the only one, that has really decided that, living abroad and staying abroad and traveling, uh, you know, throughout my adult life is something that I want to do. Even though my sister was a flight attendant and they're all still back in the US,
Hmm.
so I don't know. I think it's just something, it's just part of, you know, somebody. You got it or you don't, and there's nothing wrong either way. It's just,
That's
you
cool.
know, how it is. Yeah.
And so you clearly pass that on to your children. What's it like traveling with youngins?
When the kids were smaller, because we started this when they were about, I think we went to Bali, they may have been like 4 and 5. That was when we first left the US.
Okay.
Well, no, we lived in the Virgin Islands in Puerto Rico when they were babies. So like we left when my son was 6 months old.
Okay.
But left the United States completely. I think they were like 4 and 5 or something like that. When they were younger, it was a bit more difficult, and it was really only
Okay.
the only difficult part, to be honest with you, was the actual travel. Was like the actual airport experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Getting to somewhere new once we got there was actually, it really wasn't that bad. Because one of the reasons we left was, that I left is because the kid's dad at the time was working away in Afghanistan.
Okay.
So I wanted to be able to have domestic help, right, with the kids. And for me in the United States, it was just too expensive. So
Gotcha.
I wanted to be in the sunshine. I wanted a tropical climate. I wanted healthier food. So I knew from, living in Indonesia before I had the kids that that was one place that I knew, and that I knew the language a little bit and I was familiar with the culture. So we just went to Bali. And
Mm-hmm.
once we got there, it was fine because I was able to have, a little bit of help with the kids, help with the cleaning and that kind of thing. It's easier to get around. The cost of living is less. So once we got there, it was fine, and the kids were fine and happy to be there. But with the children, when they were smaller, it was definitely the challenge was getting us through the airport,
Yeah.
through immigration, customs, all of that to the destination. Outside of that, my children are pretty happy to see new places, and new things. Very happy. Actually, my daughter she's 12. She has a list of places that she wants to go when she gets older. So she wants to go to Mexico and Europe and all those things. Yeah. No, we didn't. That's one thing we did not get to do in Tanzania. I know we were there for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go on safari when we were there. Maybe we'll go. I'm definitely going back though,
That's
but
great.
we did not get the chance. Well, I won't say we had the chance. We just didn't do it. So yeah, we
No,
didn't do
it'll
it.
they'll be
We were
waiting.
there.
It's okay. I'm excited to
Yeah.
to do it as well. It's on the list. There's
Mhm.
a lot to do. I
Right.
still want to see
Exactly. So much to do.
like Lake Kivu up here. Did you guys do that when you were in Rwanda?
Ooh. Okay. We did. I really. That's one of the reasons why we left. Why not left. Why I prefer Tanzania is because it was near the water. That was the one problem I had with Kigali and Rwanda is that it's landlocked,
Right.
and I'm very much a water person. So we used to go to Lake Kivu like I can't even count how many times we've been there, multiple
Yes.
times. So
Yes.
yeah, we got to go. I would definitely go check it out. I think it's like a 2 or 3 hours from Kigali. It's really not. It's a beautiful drive through the mountains too. It's really really nice. So I
Yes.
highly recommend going. It's beautiful. It's really nice.
Thank you. No, okay. I love to
Yeah,
hear that. And I follow a
yeah,
bunch of, accounts on Instagram that feature it or different
yeah,
what travel's like. And we
yeah.
did recently go to Uganda for the to get the
Ooh,
stamp. We were there for like the
yeah.
weekend. And to your point about traveling through the
Ooh,
mountains and everything, beautiful.
yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah, when if you go to Uganda again, we took a road trip to Lake Mutanda a
Okay.
few years ago for my birthday. That was really beautiful. as well.
Okay.
It's not far past the border, so it didn't take us that long to get there, but it's really
Okay.
really nice as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to. I'll add that to the list. We went to Lake
Yeah.
Bunyani, I think is how you say it.
Oh, Banyani. Yeah. Okay.
We were at the Bird's Nest Resort. Really nice.
Okay.
If
Nice.
you weren't
Yeah.
aware of it at the time, really
Yeah. I've
nice.
heard of it. Okay. Nice. Yeah. I've heard of that lake before.
Nice. Okay, let's go to business. So it sounds like you've had a
Hmm.
lot of interesting jobs. You've been a teacher. What got you into teaching, and what was that like?
It was fun. I get teaching. Um, really, I really started teaching just as a way to travel because when I was in the U.S. I was working in Virginia in the DMV area. I was working at like
Right,
tax
right,
administration, and one of my coworkers was talking about traveling abroad and living abroad and teaching English. And I knew that you could teach English abroad, but he was just helping me with like deciding which country because he was saying, "Oh, if you go to South Korea, you're going to be doing a lot of work. Um, you'll get paid well, but it'll be a lot of work. And if you go to Southeast Asia, you'll
hmm
be able to work less, so you'll be able to travel around Southeast Asia a bit more. And the weather is better and all these things." So I took that into consideration, and I just started applying to jobs, really, just to see what would happen. And I did. I got hired at EF, at English First in Jakarta. A lot of English teachers, that's their first job if you're in Southeast Asia, is English First. They hire a lot of first time teachers. So they put you in a house with the other teachers, and you're basically teaching like after school it's like an after school program for the kids there. So yeah, and once I started teaching though, I found out that I loved it. It
That's
was a lot of
awesome.
fun. So yeah, yeah. So that's how I started teaching. It really initially started as me just wanting to travel and trying to find a way to do that,
Right.
and get paid to do it. Yeah.
What was your favorite thing about teaching when you discovered like you loved it? It was a passion.
Um, I loved it because it was something new every day.
Okay.
So I can't, it's very difficult for me to go into somewhere and be doing the same thing every single day. So it was different. I had the same classes, but depending on the day, it was a different class. And then you get different students' personalities and different questions every
Right,
day.
right.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's cool.
Hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
what inspired you to transition to entrepreneurship, or was that something you dabbled in or already been doing over the course of your life?
Yeah, I'd already been like doing that. I'd already been like creating when I left. By that time, was I making jewelry? Yeah, but I had already been, painting or, making jewelry, selling it here and there. So I'd always, that was always a part of, me anyways. So
That's
yeah.
cool. So what's that like setting up a business when
Mm.
you're traveling abroad and it's moving with you?
Now it's much easier than it was then. I don't think when did I set up actually no, well, I think yeah, at the time, when Etsy came, I don't know if you know what Etsy is. Etsy
I'm
is like
familiar,
a
yeah.
it's like a website where you can. Okay, okay. So I started seriously selling my things on Etsy.
Okay.
I think when the kids were babies, and it wasn't so bad. And then it's kind of easy. It's just a little difficult. You have to pack all of your, whatever. If you're selling a product, you have to take it with you wherever you go,
Right.
and that was the issue, is shipping and that kind of thing. Southeast Asia it wasn't as complicated as it can be here sometimes on the continent to ship things, as you
Right.
probably know by now,
Yes, ma'am.
and expensive. So um yeah, that was really, for me, that was really the only really the serious complication I had, was the shipping issue when I came to the continent. But other than that, it was pretty easy. If you can, setting up a website these days is pretty easy. So yeah,
Nice.
not too difficult. Yeah.
What inspired the so it sounds you're come across as a very artsy person,
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
decorated. You also, feature a lot of art in your videos, going to different cultural either centers or events people have. Like you like to showcase a lot of that. Have you always been a
Yeah.
very artsy person at heart? And is that where the idea to make
Oh, yeah.
jewelry come from?
Yeah, I've always been this way.
Awesome.
I've always been, yeah, into the arts and, my degree is in Pan-African Studies and the
That's
focus
right.
is on arts, culture, and literature. So, I've always been, um, yeah, this has been a way of life for me. So when I did have my business in Pittsburgh, it was called Culture Clause, and it was a fair trade handmade community. So when I was on Etsy, I was a part of a group of women called the Handmade Collective of Black women. So they were all
Mm,
making their own clothing. They were selling it. They were making jewelry, furniture, anything you could think of. So I thought, well, why don't I just put a store together where people can come and buy these things like physically. And so that's where
right.
I started in Pittsburgh, and then I moved that store to Bali. So
Okay.
the physical location, I closed it in Pittsburgh and reopened it in Bali, Indonesia. So yeah. And so um no matter where I am, I always try to make the arts and artisans outside of myself. I always try to focus on those things because I'm always just amazed by the things that people can create with their hands. So coming from the US, where a lot of things are manufactured in
Hmm.
facilities and stuff like that, it's just really amazing to me that people can create all these beautiful things just with their two hands or whatever, and whatever the creativity they have. So yeah,
Wow. Like we kind of take that
yeah,
for granted back in the
it's amazing.
States.
Yeah, well, you don't even know. Like for me, I didn't even know that people like not that I didn't know. I guess I just never even thought about it, until I started making my jewelry on Etsy and seeing these women, and then I came to the continent, and you're seeing people make, like you said, furniture, shelving. Yeah. So it's and I like to showcase those things, if I can.
Yeah. So wow, so
Yeah.
you make everything by hand. Is that right?
Who, me
Mm-hmm.
personally?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
I mean, I like to showcase other people. Like I do things like jewelry.
okay.
Like I made these earrings,
That's cool. I
that
can
kind of
do
thing.
that.
But but like there are things that I do make. I know what I can do, but the things that I cannot do, yeah, I like to.
Okay.
I like if I can't have it handmade. That's what I prefer. That's what I
Gotcha.
prefer.
Gotcha. So you
Yeah.
collaborate with others or showcase their talents
Yeah.
as well.
Hmm.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Do you have is it meditative? I want to say I know the answer is yes. When you're handcrafting what you make, do you get into
Of
a zone
course.
when you're,
Yeah.
what's that like?
Yeah.
The art of making. That's great.
For me, luckily, since I've been on the continent, I actually can get more into the design process because when I was in the US, I was actually like earrings like this, I would design it and I would make it by hand and all that. I don't What I do now is design. I design and I can find somebody I can collaborate with who can make it. So I can actually design more elaborate items than I probably would be able to do in the United States because I just have access to people who are more skilled, right? At creating. So now I can really get into my creative process. That almost always involves music, some
Love
music
it.
and some incense, and um, yeah, that's usually it. And if I could get quiet time away from the children, but that's it. I usually get music and incense, maybe some tea or something,
That's awesome.
and I usually just yeah sit there and just kind of zone out and draw what's in my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. And yet, for all those listening, she can describe them a little better. I'll attempt to. The earrings she's referencing are these really cool black hoop earrings. Is there any
Hmm.
other? Did I
Yeah.
cover that about right? What are they made
Well,
of?
they're made of ebony wood.
Yeah,
So an
beautiful.
ebony wood like gemstones has kind of a spiritual meaning too. So ebony wood, some people call it mahogany, is known to be like a protective energy, right? And these are Maasai, this is Maasai beading. So these are Maasai beads right here. They're gold, and this is brass. This, every piece of this is handmade. So this brass part was handmade by a brother in Tanzania. The beading is the Maasai beads. This was, you know, all of this was handmade, every piece of it. I drew it and designed it, and you know, and worked with the artisans there to get it done. Yeah.
What other pieces do you design that people can find when they look you up?
Well, I have some clothing. I have some of the things are not on the website as of right now because they're in the container on the way here. So they're, you know, between, you know, things coming from Tanzania and getting to Ghana, all of my things should be here next week. So within the coming weeks, I'll have everything back on the website. But I do, for me personally, I have jewelry on the website, like earrings, necklaces, clothes, all different kinds of clothing. I think, and of course my book and workbook. So yeah, and there's also t-shirts. I mean, you know, I don't handmade these. These are obviously they're drop shipped, but
Okay.
like I do design the, you know, the t-shirts. So yeah, there's
Nice.
t-shirts and all that kind of stuff too. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, she's we're on Zoom, guys. You know how I do. So she's rocking a really cool dark Africa themed tee with the
Yeah.
Pan African colors and everything. And she that's cool. So you can look forward to those on her store
Yeah.
as well. Jumping right back in, Rukia, if someone were to be like, just I don't know, hype up the art form. What's your favorite thing
Mm-hmm.
about artistic expression?
I like the honesty in it, you know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, you know, I kind of look at a lot of like just the arts in general as truth tellers, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I like about it. That's what I like, and it's because it's very necessary,
Yeah.
you know.
And like no, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in a time when it's so the media is so like the news media is so prevalent in people's lives, and a lot of things are not necessarily true and you don't know. But when you get to like these grassroots kind of like artisans and artists and musicians, all kinds of different forms of art, I think that there was a lot of truth in a lot of it. Even if it's not your truth, it's the truth of the time, you know.
I see what
So
you mean.
yeah.
Yeah. Your
Mm-hmm.
process when it comes to your business, like a typical day, you mentioned you got to have your tea, you got to have your music. What's a typical day like for you
Yeah.
as an artist and
Um,
businesswoman?
oh. That depends on the day. You know, I have two children too. So I mean my day, you know, it's I have to get them off to school first, and there's like a whole thing that real life things I have to do. And then depending on the day, there may be, you know, like this, it might be an interview. You know, it just depends on the day. You know, I'm working on a second book, so sometimes it that, you know, it's a bit of writing, sometimes it's a bit of drawing out, you know, some designs with some of the new artisans I'm working with here. It really, the day, it just depends, you know, on you know, if I have to go grocery shopping that day or not, you know, like what happened, like
Mm-hmm.
what's, you know. So I try to do something every day though that is working towards melanin migration. Yeah,
That's
no matter what it
awesome.
is, there's like at least one thing every day that I can do. You know, whether it is, you know, just doing some promoting for the consulting, or you know, whatever it is, you know, if it's something more artistic based, just, you know, something every day that works towards the business. So
Nice. Does discipline or structure play a role at all, or as best as it can? Because you're right, every day
yeah,
is different.
yeah, it is. At the moment, I'm just trying to survive and keep my sanity
Yeah.
because we're still in transition with this move.
Gotcha.
Because I'm still not even in permanent housing, so we're not moving to our permanent house till next week.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So once we can get to the permanent housing and get the kids, then we'll be close enough to the school for the bus to come, and so we'll be able to get into a groove. The bus comes, you know, then the kids will be off, and then, you know, we'll get into a nice little, you know, routine like we were back in
Rhythm. Yeah.
Tanzania, and then I can get back to the, you know, the everyday, the routine of things. But right now, I'm just kind of winging it a little bit until we can get, you know, more settled.
Gotcha. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Any advice to artists, especially traveling artists like yourself?
Hmm.
Is there any, maybe one single piece of advice you'd give them as they try to get
Um,
settled or find routines and still create?
yeah. Um, I have a few pieces of advice, but one thing I would
Okay.
say is just to be patient with yourself. I've been working on that with myself, because it is difficult for me to to not have a routine. It was very nice in Tanzania when we were able to settle into,
Okay.
this kind of everyday routine, but it's been, kind of difficult for me to wrap my mind around, one day I have to go look for, appliances to buy for the new house. And the next day I have to, drop the kids off and go to the grocery store the next day. It's different because I have so many different things that still need to be done. Um, outside of creating things at the moment. So just trying to give myself some grace and knowing that I'm still trying to settle and we're still in transition um here. But as far as being an artist goes and traveling, the most important thing you can do is network. I could tell you that, I mean, for me, that's how I was able to get the jewelry done that I was able to get done, and to be able
Nice.
to work with others, which is something I did not really do in the United States, as far as my artistic process. But I really learned coming to the continent. That's one thing that it has taught me is community, especially coming to Ghana. Um, Community is something that I really have to be patient with, and I had to really learn. Yeah.
So you can't be an island unto yourself, or at least not
No,
for long.
you can. I mean, you can if but you will be much more successful. You'll
Yeah.
be much more successful if you are working with others. Yeah, for sure.
Was that an easy thing for you to do? Like networking with different people in different countries?
When I was living in Bali, if you don't have a community where you're at, then start one. You know, like I did that.
Exactly.
I
Okay.
think there was if you look at if you're on Facebook and you go to the groups, I don't know how popular they are now, but like if you look up brothers and sisters of whatever country it is, whatever area, it'll usually pop up whatever the Black people are in that area. So I started the Brothers and Sisters of Indonesia when I was there. And so I was
Nice.
kind of able to bring people to me. You know what I mean? I was kind of able to
Yeah.
create that.
Be that
So
nucleus.
yeah. So if I can't find it, then I'll try and find a way to create it. Yeah, for sure. But it's definitely important to I think your long-term success in whatever new country you're going to, just to find your people. You know.
Yeah. That's in
Yeah.
effect. Look, can we touch on that for just a little bit? How do I
Sure.
want to phrase it? Any highlights or lessons learned
Hmm.
and encouragement
Yeah.
to Black travelers?
Hmm. Um. One lesson was that the scariest place you will probably be is the United States of America.
Mm,
So, leaving the United States, you will find most places are much more safe, much more welcoming, much more respectful um, of you and your Blackness than it will ever be in the United States.
mm,
So, I get that question a lot about,
yeah.
do they like Black people? And, like Indonesia, do they like Black
Yeah.
people there? Is it safe? I'm like, one of the most dangerous places on the planet is the United States. So no, wherever you go, most likely you're going to be more safe. First of all,
Mm,
second of all, um, the racism that we deal with in the U.S., we're just so accustomed to it and used to it. I feel like we don't even realize that it is having the effect on us that it has, emotionally and all of that, until you leave
right,
and then you
right, right.
realize that a lot of people are not judging you strictly off the basis of of the color of your skin. It is something to really get used to, and you have to be prepared for that. Also, you have to be open to understanding that there's a lot of unlearning that's going to happen when you leave the United States as well. You're gonna have to. I remember I got pulled
Good
over by the
word.
police in Tanzania, and I almost just had a meltdown in the car But the brother just came over to see if I was okay. How are you doing today? Where are you going? Are you okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. I seriously was almost brought to tears because I just, in the United, I didn't realize how ingrained that experience is of being terrified of the police in the United States, you know, and then coming somewhere where, you know, you don't have to live that way anymore. Just having just that in that second, I just finally had that realization, and it's just something that you have to be open to dealing with, you know, and to learning yourself
Yeah.
and to unlearning those things, you know.
Any
Mm-hmm.
additional um, gems or lessons that you learned while traveling black? Because we deserve to see the world, and I'm just so inspired to
Yeah.
have you on the show, to be here with my
Mm-hmm.
be in Africa with my family and my other friends and family who are also happen to be black, and just living our
Yeah.
best lives. Would you have any more you'd like to elaborate on with that?
I think that's it. I think that,
Yeah.
you know, the unlearning and just being open to change because it's not always going to be easy. It's going to be up and down some days. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
prepared for that. But I think one of the biggest things people can do is to try to learn yourself and try and learn to listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
Because that will take you very far in a new country when you don't know the language, you know. So
Very
yeah, I
good.
think that's it. Hmm.
Very. That's
Yeah.
cool. And in fact, let's talk about that. What's your so far? You're still
Hmm.
adjusting.
I am.
Anything really stand out about now being in Ghana?
Hmm. Oh, so many things. You know, that's why I moved us here. One thing that I guess has been different from all the places where we've lived is that in Accra, um, English is spoken, right? So
Okay.
it's very
Okay.
easy for us to navigate. That's the first thing. It's very easy for us to navigate. Um, and because you know, in Tanzania it was Kiswahili, but I was learning Kiswahili. That's
Hmm.
why I was there. I was on a student visa to learn. But you know, it's really nice to be here and to be able to communicate with folks. You know, how you want to.
Yeah.
Although I'll be learning a few different languages here soon. My fiance speaks Twi and he speaks Hausa, so
Nice.
I'll be learning those things very soon. But I will say that is one thing. But just in general, of like the way that um, the spiritual aspects of the seems like on the west side here, on the west side of of Africa, it is just more open. I feel like on the east it was the traditional religion and spirituality was kind of, you had to dig for it. If you had to go out into the villages and you had to go, you're not going to go to Dar and see, like here they have like traditional herbalist clinics, traditional medicine university here. Like
Gotcha.
you're not going to see that in Dar, you know what I mean? So here is a bit different in that way, and I can feel it because I feel much more connected to here than I did to Tanzania in the east side.
Gotcha.
So just spiritually, immediately as soon as I came here, I visited in November, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to move here, is because I just felt so spiritually connected to here. So that is the other thing. And the other thing, just like the basic things, food is delicious. You know, the jollof rice and the fish and
I still gotta
the
try the rice.
banku and the fufu, all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's delicious.
Okay.
It's so good here. Yeah,
Is
food.
fufu?
And
Sorry, real quick. The
mhm,
fufu is that the white dish that you pull apart for like sauces and
there's
things?
different. Yeah, so there's different. So there's
Okay.
fufu, there's banku, and there's kenki. There's like three different ones. There's probably more than
Gotcha.
that. It's similar to like and there's ugali in Rwanda. Yeah,
Yeah, that's yeah.
you have ugali there.
I think we have
It's
that
kind of
here. I've
like
had that.
ugali.
Okay. Because it's like made from
Yeah.
powder and water, or
So
that's one of the ways anyway.
yes,
Gotcha. Okay.
yes, yes. So that's how the ugali is made. Here, it's banku is like it's the same thing actually. It's just fermented a little bit.
Okay.
So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah,
you were okay.
but
Sorry to
yeah, so
interrupt. You
there's
were
different options for that. Yes, yeah. So the food, the you know, and there is just a liveliness here that I didn't really um experience so much in Tanzania. Like, yeah, it's hard to explain. So it was kind of like Kigali is very calm and serene, and then you get to Tanzania, and it's a little bit more life. You know, it's a little bit more things
Okay.
going on. And then here is just it's reminds me of us, you know, at home, like Black folks in the States, kind of. You know, we're very lively
Okay.
people. We like to laugh,
Yeah.
play, and joke, and you know, and have fun, and you know, work hard, and that's you know how I feel about here. So I feel very at home
That's good. I'm
here.
I'm I'm glad.
Yeah.
That's great. And so
Yeah.
and then the transition, the kids really like it as well. Does it really
They
agrees with them as well,
do.
especially
Yes,
education wise, because you
it
were talking
does.
about school and things.
Yeah. So the schooling here is much for my children. I found that the schooling here is much better for them. So they're really enjoying the school that they're at. They're at an international school, a pretty large international school. So they're adjusting because the school they were in Tanzania was a little small, a lot smaller.
Hmm.
And I did an interview with the principal of the school they were at in Tanzania. That was on my YouTube channel,
I
actually.
saw that.
So
That was really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So
Okay.
it was a brother from California
That's
actually is the
right.
principal now at the school. Yeah, it was a really good interview. So the school I'm at now, the kids are at now, they really enjoy it. They like it here though because you know they're almost teenagers, so they want to go to the mall. Not that there weren't malls in Dar, but you know here it's a bit more. They'll find more things that are similar to the U.S. Right? So the malls, that is one thing. So there's more malls here, and there's more stores in them that they kind of are familiar to them, or restaurants here that are more familiar to them. You know, so they really do love it here. They really like it here.
That's good. Good for
So
them. That's right.
yeah,
So they're
they
finding
they
their
also yeah they miss the beach. You know, the beach life in Dar, but you know there is big city life now, so they're
yeah.
getting used to it, and yeah, they're liking it a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Hmm.
Any advice you would give people starting business, whether it's where they have overhead, such as yourself, or whether maybe it's remote or anything. Maybe it's as simple as do your research to see like how easy is it to start a business. Do you need a work
Oh, I get
permit?
what
Do
you're
you
saying.
need maybe
Yeah.
sorry like more details that
Yeah.
way?
So yeah, so all of those things are important, but I always encourage people to go to whatever country you're going to and get settled first. You need to get settled and learn that culture and the people where you're going to be living first. I don't recommend anybody starting a business before the first year. You
Okay.
know, because you really need to learn people, especially if you're hiring people to work for you. You need to learn how them people work, you know, because it's different everywhere you go. You know, every country I lived in, people have different ethics when it comes to working, you know, and so you need to be aware of those things, and you only learn those things through time. It takes time, and to build the relationships you're going to need for the business that you want. It all of that takes time. So first, don't worry about business so much. Save your money, get yourself settled, you know, learn the culture, you know, learn what's needed, what's not needed as far as business. But that's not something I ever encourage anyone to rush into unless you're coming to a place where you already have a business that is online or something like that, you know, that's already been established. But if you're coming somewhere and starting something new, take your time. It's not a
Hmm.
rush, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
watching one video where someone I forgot who it was, but the advice was great. They said settle, go at your own pace because some people
Hmm.
um they'll move to another country, be it somewhere in Africa, and they might not do
Yeah.
anything. By that anything they mean business or something for maybe 6 to 8
Yeah.
months. Everyone's pace is
Yeah. Yeah. It's different. Yeah.
it's different, and that's assuming
Hmm.
your savings were on point or whatever the
Right.
case,
Exactly.
so that you weren't stressed and weren't strapped for cash or something like that,
Right.
as soon as you landed. But it's very important to get settled and not rush. Was it easy for you and your children to do that? Coming, I mean, like me, you grew up in the
Yeah.
States. You traveled more than I did,
Hmm.
but you still, your point about the police and just some of those
Yeah.
anxieties. Did you feel that anxiety to, okay, I got to be doing something, or was it easy to
I'm
kind of
always
settle
like
in?
that. No, I mean that whether no matter where I'm at, I'm always like I have some kind of anxiety
Charged up.
about producing and creating things, you know. And I don't know, I follow this account on Instagram called the Nat Ministry, and it
Oh
really got
yeah,
me
they're
to
good.
thinking if, yeah, and that got me to thinking, is that the capitalism that's been ingrained in me to feel like I always need to produce, even if it is something creative, so that got, so that I've been rethinking that. So since I've been here, I've been trying to make it an intentional effort to do nothing sometimes,
I
but I
love
do
that.
put that pressure on myself. Like I need to be creating something. I need to be writing something out, like, why am I like this? Like, why am I putting this pressure on myself, and just creating anxiety for myself? Like, why am I doing that? And I think a lot of that is ingrained as Americans. We are ingrained to be always producing and working. And, so I do that quite, and I'm trying to stop.
So you're on YouTube. We've touched on it. Melanin
Yeah.
Migration. When
Yeah.
the world inspired you to put your life on YouTube?
I don't know. I ask myself that question all the time. Goodness. I think it started, I don't know why. It was because, when we were in Thailand, we were on House Hunters International when we were there.
Oh, that's right.
And yeah, and it was after that I started thinking, like, maybe, you know, when we do get to the continent at some point, I will start my YouTube then, because I really wanted to inspire us to, just like I've been inspired and helping us to get wherever we want to go at that point. But especially people were just contacting me mostly because they wanted to go to Thailand and Bali, because those are the places that I have been. But when I get to the continent, after this episode airs, that was when I released the book. And that is kind of how it started with the book. And I said, well, I really want people to see what life is like on the continent, and maybe it will inspire some people to come. And that's how it started. Yeah.
Well, Rukiya,
Mm-hmm.
this has been great. Can you guys, you can follow her on YouTube at the Melanin Migration. Can you
Yeah.
share any of your other socials where people are welcome to follow, your website, things like
Yeah,
that?
sure. Yeah, melaninmigration.com. You can find me there. You can find, if you look under the news section there, you can find some of the other interviews, and you can find the link to my HGTV, the House Hunters episode we did some years ago. You can find the BBC documentary that I did, that I was part of too. This is all there under the news section on my website. There are some things left in the store. Again, I'll have more things in the store when my container gets here next week. But you can get all the all the logo items, t-shirts, sweatshirts, that kind of stuff is all there for right now. What else? Instagram, melanin_migration for that. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. This has been a lot
Yeah.
of fun, Rukiya. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're
It has
welcome.
been.
And guys, to everyone listening, I hope you took some gems. I hope you took some much needed advice. Take what works, leave what doesn't. Everyone's artistic, entrepreneurial, and traveling journey will look different, and that's totally fine. But I hope you enjoyed listening to what worked for Rukiya, and if you find some overlap, more power to you. Hope you've enjoyed this interview, guys. I've enjoyed talking to Rukiya, and if you like this, stay tuned for more episodes coming soon. Until then, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.